What's up, guys? It's Nofsky with Academia Audio, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Alrighty guys, so that was a song I threw together in the Jack U trappy kind of style. My reference track was Where Are You Now with Justin Bieber by Jack U. And before we get started, there's a few things I want to point out about Jack U's style that I realized when I was going after it. One of the first things I realized about Jack U's style was the BPM. Now in this particular track it's 70, which is a pretty average trap BPM, but in a lot of his other stuff I noticed it was more on the higher end, like 160, 165 even. And so just something to keep in mind when you're going about creating this genre of music is it's a little bit faster usually. The second thing I noticed was vocal chops, and the high pitch kind of squeaky vocal chops, heavily distorted, is something that he utilizes a lot, which I did as well in this track. And last but not least, the third thing I realized was his snare selection. When I was going about finding a snare for this track, or a collection of snares, it was kind of the really almost like a cowbell and a snare hitting together, and just a really unique tonality on the snare hits. So without any further ado, let's dive in. So first I want to tackle this synth right here. I feel like this is the main sauce of the sound to go after that Jack U sound, and this is what it sounds like. So I use Serum to create this sound. Overall, it is a pretty simple sound to create. All I have going on is I have the analog sine wave going on here. I have the basic shapes as well, and then I have a sub. And all I'm doing is I'm FMing from the sub into these oscillators to create a really unique texture. Next, as far as shaping the sound goes, if you notice, these are my shapes down here. And they're all in the plucky formation, as you can hear when you listen to the sound. I am utilizing a kind of plucky sound from the noise filter as well, and then I'm sending all of this through the MG low filter, just kind of roll off some of that top end, and then I am automating the cutoff with LFO1. As far as effects go, I do have a little bit of multiband compression going on, some reverb, and then some hyperdimension. I do have this filter here, and it's currently the cutoff is all the way up, so it's not doing anything at the moment, but I do have the option to automate this knob to kind of bring down, roll off those high ends if I wanted to. Next, I do have this supporting sound right here, and this is what that sounds like. And I'm utilizing this one as kind of just another tone kind of supporting this top one and those low mids. And this is the preset right here. And this is also one of our presets from our Exhale pack. If you guys haven't gotten a chance, we do have a whole serum bank down below, so go follow the links, check it out. It is incredibly powerful. This is what the two sounds sound like together. As far as post-processing goes on this supporting sound, I am zoning in on those low mids right here. For the wide pluck, I am cutting out all the sub-frequencies, and then I just have a touch of microshift on there just to kind of pan it out left and right just a little bit, just so it gets out of the way of this guy. And then over the whole thing, all I have is a little bit of saturation going on, and then a little bit of compression, and that is it. Next, let's dive into the bass bus. The bass bus is pretty straightforward. I have a sub. This is our sub from our Exhale pack. I have a little bit of R bass on there, and then an EQ as well, just holding it in that pocket. Next, I do have a top bass, and this is another preset from our Exhale pack, and I do have an EQ on here. kind of zoning in those low frequencies as well. And this is what those sound like together. As far as post-processing on the bus, all I have is a little bit of compression going on, and that is it. And that pretty much wraps up the bass bus. For the drums, the main things I want to point out on the drums, it's just a typical trap groove. I do end up changing the kick just a little bit about halfway through in the timing, but I just have one of our trap kicks going on. This is what that sounds like. And then as far as the snare bus, this is where things got a little interesting, is I have one of our snare claps from our Genesis pack, and this is what that sounds like. So just a basic clap, and then I do have these two perks right here, and these were the ones that I was talking about that kind of sound like a cowbell is hitting at the same time, and this is what those sound like. So just a really, really cool sound to layer on top of that clap to kind of give it a really unique texture when that hits. Besides that, I do have a few of our claps as some fills. And then I do bring those in 4 on the floor once the second part of the drop comes in. Besides that, I do have our cymbal bus, and all that consists of is a little bit of fills and some hi-hats and a crash kind of hidden constantly, and this is what those sound like together. So nothing fancy, just some cool top loops just to kind of throw over that trap groove. And as far as post-processing, all I have is a little bit of saturation and then a little bit of compression. And that is it. This is what they sound like all together. One last thing I do want to point out about the drums is the snare hit, and I've mentioned this before in other videos, but if you notice, I do have all of these shifted off from one another, and the reason I do that is 2 reasons actually. One, it gives it a more natural groove. Anytime you shift things off, if you think about a drummer hitting a snare, he's never going to hit it the same exact time every time. So by shifting them off, it creates a more natural feel, and then it also helps not spike a bunch of transients. When you go to compress or do a final master on your track, you're not going to have a massive spike from all the transients hitting on top of each other. That pretty much wraps up the drum bus. Let's move over to the effects. So for the effects, I have 3 things going on. I do have this vocal sample that I chopped up, and this is what that sounds like. And I just thought that sounded really nice, just kind of in the background, giving it some vocals. Next, I do have a little Foley sample from a Kashmir pack, and this is what that sounds like. And how I'm using this is, one, just kind of to lead into the drop, but then also I'm layering my snares. If you see my snares right here, I am layering every other snare with this hit. And then I'm also using it as a fill when those claps fill right here. I am layering it so it kind of leads into that fill and then whips it into that next section. Next, I do have this vocal chop, and this was one of the points I was talking about in the beginning, those kind of high-pitch classic vocal chops, and this is what that sounds like. Now I do have some post-processing on there to kind of give it that distorted effect, and all that credit goes to this guy right here, these 2 guys right here. This Ableton stock amp and then cabinet combo. Watch what happens if I turn these off and play these. Massive difference. Now I'll turn these back on and go ahead and play it again. You can just hear how much it brightens and distorts the sound. So definitely go play around with this plugin right here, just on a lead sound or an effect or a bass or whatever you want to put it on. Just experiment. You can do some really creative, cool things. Besides that, I do just have some auto-tune just to keep the integrity of the vocal, and then a little bit of reductive EQ going on some of those harsh frequencies. So that pretty much wraps up the effects bus. So guys, overall, really simple song to recreate. There's really not a lot going on. It's just using the basics and then really executing it well. So I hope this inspires you. If you do like the sounds in this video, again, we do have some packs down below, so definitely go check those out. We also have a free template for you guys to download, and we have a whole video explaining how it's going to benefit you. In a nutshell, we created it to help you start and stay in the creative flow. Everything's already gain staged for you and kind of mixed, so that way you don't have to worry about twisting knobs and you can just focus on the creative process. If you guys have any questions or comments or any videos you want me to create in the future, please let me know down below in the comments section. Also, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I hope this inspired you guys. Have a blessed day and peace.